you don't put as much effort in because you're like, it doesn't matter how much effort I put on, I'll never catch up. And that's literally the worst thing you could do. Because
what's your life look like if you just stick with something for the next 5 years? You double down and research that and become a material expert in that field. You can have these thought experiments. What if I do this for the next 3 years, the next 5 years?
You got to think of where you could be literally a year and 5 years from now if you put in consistent effort.
What can I be? What can I become? You guys want to know something?
What you got?
What do you want to know, man? What you got?
I got chickens.
Like,
I got chickens, and this all happened in just the course of a couple days.
like live chickens?
Yeah, I got little chicks. Yeah, little tiny chicks.
Didn't you have a coop at your place?
They just go peep, peep, peep. Yeah, we had, the coop has been there since we, when we bought the place, it came with everything, but I don't know anything about chickens. We don't know anything about chickens, so we wanted to have a chicken coop for a while, and then we finally bit the bullet and got some chickens. And you know where you get chickens from?
The chicken store.
The fucking chicken store. The hardware store.
Oh yeah. Tractor Supply.
And they fucking and they ship chickens to you. It's fucking crazy.
What's the price of like getting chicks?
I don't know. That's actually a good question.
Like
I need to ask Andy about. Yeah, because they're little tiny
Nice
things,
shot.
man. They're so cute. They're like the size of this little kettlebell that we have here. They're tiny. I mean, obviously they're going to get to be pretty big. They're going to make some,
And then be ugly as fuck.
yeah, make some eggs.
And they're a pain in the ass.
Yeah, make some eggs for us. But we got some chicks, and then that has caused a stir with Daisy. She's been upset. Our little puppy dog. She's like, who the fuck are these?
Yeah.
Why are these other animals? Because we have them in the house. We have them in a box, and they need like a lot of heat and stuff. Otherwise, they're not going to like survive. You got to feed them and stuff. And then Casey came over, and he worked on the chicken coop and like maxed it out, so they have like a little chicken coop hotel over there.
Yeah.
That's like the fucking Four Seasons. And yeah, we're transitioning them to go outside. But my wife has been kind of like messing around with the chicken coop, and Jake's been all excited about it. And they went out there the other day, and there's fucking a cat that had like had a bunch of babies, a bunch of kittens.
Oh, okay.
So there's like I don't know, there's like 5 or 6 cats out there now too, little kittens.
And are they gonna fuck with your chicks?
Well,
not the kittens, but
yeah.
the cat.
I think eventually they will.
Yeah, they I don't think so. I mean, the chickens will get big enough at some point where the cat, I don't think, will really mess with it, but I don't know. But the chicken coop is set up to where like coyotes and all that shit can't really.
That's what I was gonna ask.
Yeah, they can't. I mean, I don't think they can mess with it, but you never know.
Dude, it looks like, I mean, for $40 you can get like 10 of them.
That's great.
I think, if I'm reading that right. Well, 31 to 39.
Dude, our fucking neighbor, I'm not sure. They got a rooster recently.
Oh, that sucks, dude.
Yeah. And every morning at like 6 a.m., 6 a.m., that thing goes off. But like for the first week, the dogs were just hitting the fence.
Oh, yeah.
Because they were just like trailing that thing.
Especially huskies, they're going to fuck that thing up.
Yeah, dude. But I think they've gotten used to it. But initially, they were just fucking staring through the holes. And I would leave, come back. The dogs are in the same corner of the fence, just staring at it. And I'm looking at it, and it's staring at the dogs, just far enough away that dogs can't do anything.
Yeah.
God, animals.
Yeah, when I lived in South Sac, a bunch of people had roosters.
What the fuck is people having roosters?
Mexicans love them. I'm not sure. We have a lot of them.
You said it.
Yeah, I know. That's why. But no, it's true. And then like the one down the street.
I'm very confused by chickens, by the way. Like I'm like, do chickens have
dinosaurs?
Sex? Or like what? The rooster just fertilizes the egg?
There's YouTube that shit, dog.
Super dumb. They are not smart
YouTube
at all.
Chickens having sex?
Dude, I remember when I was a kid, I was just like, oh, how did different animals do it?
I got homework. Chicks having sex.
Oh god, dude, lions are fucking. It's sad the way lions do it, because I think their things have little pricks on it, so it's painful.
It's like dogs, yeah.
Yeah, dogs don't have pricks on their.
They get stuck, dude.
What do you mean they get?
They get stuck. So if like the way a dog's like his that red rocket comes out.
Yeah.
So it like basically has little things too that once it inserts, unless it busts and like shrivels up to nothing, they're stuck. They can't come out.
Isn't it great that like as humans, at least we enjoy our shit most of the time, right? Don't want to get into other situations, but most of the time it's a fun experience.
Yeah, it's always positive.
But in nature, it's just like you, me, now. Let's go.
Yeah, and then sometimes like the black widow will just eat the dude. You know, then it's like, well,
after.
thanks for your services.
There are other animals that do that shit.
Yeah.
Where the woman
Wild.
Yeah.
Imagine if that was a human thing. If like
That wouldn't be good.
There would be no guys around at all. We'd all be dead.
oh god, that's the next point of evolution.
Yeah, that wouldn't be good. I don't think.
No.
Anyway, what we're talking about today is effort. We want to talk a little bit about effort and focus in and hone in on that. And I think with Andrew getting started in his jiu-jitsu career, and with me messing around with running, and Nsima is far along with his jiu-jitsu, I think it's important that people kind of understand that you can make a change, and you can make a change really fast within even just a few weeks. You know, 3-4 weeks from now, you can be a pretty different person by the things that you start to do. Somebody, I always think for a lot of people, it's a good idea to go back to something that you used to like maybe you used to like to shoot some hoops. I think for some reason, as we get older, we think that we can't do it. We think that we shouldn't do it. I'm not talking about like randomly going and playing a pickup game of basketball out of nowhere. Like that actually probably is a bad idea. If you haven't done that in a long time, but just to go shoot some baskets, if that's something you really like to do, that'd be great to gravitate back towards that. But imagine what it would be like if you put a little effort into that. You do it for a handful of weeks. You go out and you do it with a friend. Same thing with hopping on your bike. You know, some people for exercise, I ask friends and family members, they'll say, you know, the gym, I never really got into the gym. And I'm like, well, as much as I would love for you to go to the gym, you don't have to go to the gym. There's no law that says you have to go there. It does a lot for you. It can help with muscle mass. It can help with longevity. But for your average person that's not really moving that much, walking some hills, jogging some hills, hiking, getting on a bicycle, these things will actually increase their strength. It is a form of resistance training in some ways, something more than probably walking. But if you can commit to something like that and do it for X amount of days in a row or a couple times a week for 5 or 6 weeks, you can really change who you are right now, or at least change and develop a new skill set. And when you develop that new skill set, you'll feel good enough about that skill set to continue it on for a while.
Absolutely. Yeah. My mom, my sister, they've been, instead of driving everywhere, they've been just starting to walk everywhere. So the other day,
That's awesome.
they decided to walk to Walmart from their house. And it was about, I think they were walking for about 3 to 4 hours. They took 27,000 steps that day.
Ooh.
But my mom,
That's a lot, man. That's fucking awesome.
yeah, I asked my sister, I was like, how many steps did you guys walk? She's like, 27,000. I was like, do you know how big of a deal that is? But like, that's like my sister, she's trying to lose some weight and she's trying to build in these habits of walking every day. And once a week, her and my mom will take a really long walk. And that's been helping her progress, you know? But that does take a bit of effort. And I think something that's kind of interesting is when we do talk about a lot of things, we try to make it things that don't take that much. It's just like start walking a little more, start moving a little bit more. But to really make a lot of change, it's necessary to put a decent amount of effort in. It's because it did take effort. If you're out of shape currently, you might not think it took effort to get there, but it was doing certain maybe bad habits consistently. So to get out of that, you're gonna need to put some work into other habits you don't have or other things you're not doing. It's gonna take some work, but that's not a bad thing.
And what I like about like what Mark was saying, like just putting a little bit of effort towards something that you enjoyed or whatever it may be. Like maybe the walk or the bike ride's not gonna give you the body that you like wish that you had or whatever. But what it can do is like start a domino effect, and it can change the trajectory of where you were heading. So like let's say you were gonna head towards some kind of like, I don't know, cholesterol, heart issue, or whatever it may be, a broken foot or something because you were out of shape and you fell off a curb. Like, if you kept going in that direction, maybe that's what would happen. But if,
well, can you rewind?
I just couldn't think of anything. Okay, I'm sorry.
You're out of shape.
So like,
and fell off a curb.
Yeah, dude. Have you ever rolled your ankle off of a curb? You've never done that.
No,
dude. Oh my gosh. So like, think about somebody wearing
somebody who's like out of shape. They're like,
yeah.
Fell off a fucking curb.
Like they got shot.
Look, check it out.
Sorry.
If somebody has really, really thick Hokas on and they don't see a curb and they walk off of it and they roll their ankle, they have no agility to like fall correctly. They're just going to put all their weight on that busted ass ankle. And look, now they can't work out. They can't walk.
I feel like such an asshole. That's realistic.
I know. See? Now who's laughing?
You know it does. You know,
I'm so sorry, everyone.
you unathletic piece of shit out there.
Oh my God.
Let's start the show over. Be serious.
Okay, instead of ending up in the hospital because you have anyway.
No, but people do end up with a lot of problems, especially like from being on their phone, and they fucking stumble and fall, and all kinds of shit happens.
But again, changing the trajectory a little bit, you know, maybe you avoid something like that.
Yeah.
There you go. You're welcome, Nsima.
Oh, I'm such an asshole, man. You're right. I couldn't compute when you said that.
Dude,
You're gonna have to do. We need to like film a reenactment of Andrew like fall. Oh, my ankle.
Yeah.
My back.
Those commercials. I've fallen and I can't get
I
up.
rolled my ankle. Wearing my thick ass shoes.
I remember those Life Alert commercials.
Of course.
The old lady on the stairs.
Falling.
That's why people need to lift.
Oh, I feel
Get that resistance training.
Work
in
them
there.
quads.
That's real though.
But you know, I think another point on this is like a lot of people have a lot better genetics than they. I think people want to like kind of push their genetics to the side, you know, and then try to take credit for everything. You know, when I first started like bench pressing, I was just a little stronger than my friends. And then also, I mean, there's also like access. There's access to stuff. I think I've heard a story about Bill Gates, how the place that he grew up in Florida was one of the first schools in the country to have computers in a lot of different classrooms. You know, there's just like stuff that just happens. You're like, well, fuck, how did that happen? That makes
literally during summers for him, he would get to work on coding that other people weren't able to get access to. It was just him and some other people, and they were able to get ahead of all of these people. It's in Malcolm Gladwell's book Outliers. Y'all can check it out. But it wasn't trying to take away from how brilliant he was, but it was showing.
Doesn't take anything away from
he did have a big leg up of literally everybody else in the United States.
I got access to computers. I ain't doing shit.
Right.
Way better computers too.
And for me, you know, when I was a young kid, like I've told the story before, but it may be worth mentioning. Like money and weights always went together because our basement, my dad, when he lost his job from IBM, he built out half of the basement to be his business, where he consulted people financially. He also did income taxes and real estate, and the other half of the basement was our weights. And I had good access to weights because my dad, we were upper middle class. My dad made pretty good money. He tried to buy us stuff and tried to, whatever shit we were into, he tried to push us not push us into that. He tried to encourage us into that more because, you know, having 3 boys in the house, like we're going to destroy each other and the house and eat all the fucking food. So my parents, rather than being annoyed with us all the time, tried to just encourage us to spend our energy, you know, somewhere else. So like weights and finances kind of always went together. And then it's, you know, it's not coincidental that I started a company that's in the fitness industry. I think those things did go together. So I had a nice advantage there, but it still took a lot of effort to do what I did. But I always try to reference my background. I always try to reference my family. I always try to reference mom and dad were fucking right there for everything. My life wasn't that hard. You know, they were there. They were literally there for everything. They were literally there for everything. And then as you get older, you kind of recognize like, oh shit, like I have to kind of intentionally make stuff a little difficult for myself. And I have to figure out things where I can put in effort myself because I need to become my own person. You know, I can't just suck off the teat of my family my whole life. I need to figure out my own path, my own way. And so then I leaned into something like powerlifting. I leaned into football, professional wrestling, track, boxing, a bunch of other things until I started to find my own way.
Yeah. And that is one thing though. When you're trying, I mean, I know that I've done this before. Like when you're trying to get better at something, one thing that you end up looking at is like, you'll look at people that are good and then you'll see, oh, they've been doing this since they were 6, or, oh, they've been doing this since here. Like, and then what that sometimes is, or if like it's someone's really in shape, you're like, oh, they've been doing this since they were like 13 years old. Right. And then you start to think, well, I'm 25 or I'm 28 or whatever. looks like it's a little bit too late for me, or it's like I can't get in that good of shape, or I can't get that strong. And then you take away from what you would actually do, and because of that, you don't put as much effort in, because you're like, it doesn't matter how much effort I put on, I'll never catch up. And that's literally the worst thing you could do, because you got to think of where you could be literally a year and 5 years from now if you put in consistent effort, not where you're going to be 90 days from now. Even though 90 days of good effort is good, that shouldn't be your timetable for trying to be able to achieve something big or achieve something great.
Look at where Kenny was. You know, I don't think we didn't know him 5 years ago, but Kenny is so young. Kenny Williams, he's 21. So 5 years ago, he was still a young teenager, but still in high school. And look at the changes that he's made. Look at the maturity. There's just been so many changes. Motherfucker's got 3 jobs. He and I are about to start like a podcast thing together. And it's interesting because all that it is, kind of, I don't want to say like all, like quote unquote all, because it is a lot of effort, but all it is him doubling down on what he loves to do. And that's bodybuilding. You know, he loves that sport. He loves doing it. And so I think somebody could try this as just like a thought experiment. If you're 30 or you're 25 right now, what's your life look like if you just stick with something for the next 5 years? What's the thing that you like? What's the thing that you enjoy? Maybe you still have to have a regular pain in the ass 9-to-5 job because you can't figure out how to monetize that thing that you love, hunting or whatever it might be. But at some point over the next 5 years, if you double down and research that and become a material expert in that field, or at least come close to being a material expert, or at least appear to be somebody that is super passionate about that topic and that really enjoys it, then maybe you can start a podcast. Maybe you can figure out ways to monetize things. I think nowadays there's so many different ways that you can go about doing that. And just thinking of something like hunting, I'm sure you can start like a Patreon and teach people about all the different types of guns and what's the best thing for a beginner and what do you use when you hunt. I don't know any of these things, but there's people that do. What's the best gear? What's the least expensive, but it's going to get you the furthest? I mean, the list of shit goes on and on and on and on and on that you can do. And even someone like Andrew, who's been engineering this podcast for a while, even someone like Andrew who's already in a good spot could have a show with a Patreon that teaches people how to podcast, to buy the best. I mean, if you just sit there and think for a little while, you can come up with some really cool stuff. And sometimes it's not right for you at that particular time or that particular moment because it might cost you in other areas, but it's just kind of neat. You can have these thought experiments. What if I do this for the next 3 years or the next 5 years? What can I be? What can I become?
Power Project family, if you're trying to increase your muscle mass, if you're trying to lose body fat, if you're trying to stick to your nutrition plan, if you're trying to get fit, pretty much if there's anything you're trying to do for your health, we know that sleep is the biggest determining factor to help you get from point A to point B. That's why we've been sleeping on 8 Sleep mattresses for probably more than 2 years now. And the main reason is the technology behind the Pod Pro. Now, the Pod Pro is like the Tesla of beds. It will change its temperature based off of how you're sleeping during the night. And if you have a partner that's sleeping on the other side, they could have their own temperature settings. We all sleep hot here, and I used to wake up in a puddle of my own sweat. Gross. That doesn't happen anymore because of the 8 Sleep mattress, and I've been getting the best sleep of my life. Now, if you don't want to replace your mattress, you can just get the Pod Pro cover, and you can put that over your current mattress to get all the benefits of 8 Sleep. But if you also need to replace your old nasty mattress, you can get the Pod Pro cover and the 8 Sleep mattress. Andrew, how can they get it?
Yes, you guys got to head over to 8sleep.com/powerproject, and you guys will automatically receive $150 off of your order. Again, 8sleep.com/powerproject. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
It's the knowledge. It's the knowledge business, because the thing is everybody's interest. There are people out there who are interested in fucking knitting, right? And then what's the first thing someone's probably going to do? Most people are going to go on YouTube and type in like knitting tutorials or knitting whatever, and they're going to learn from someone who's a material expert who spent time, maybe 5 or 8. Can I knit? No. Right? But it's a cool skill, right?
You know how to do a lot of shit, so it wouldn't surprise me if you're like, yeah, my mom made me knit when I was a kid.
Like you never forget that loop and the thing and whatever the fuck they're called. But
yeah. But that like, and that's where a lot of shit's going. But like, if you can if you can spend some time to become good at something you're actually interested in, you can do a lot with it. Even if, and that's the thing though, because certain things are so niche, like fucking knitting, there's a certain amount of people that are doing cool shit, but you could also be one of those people, right? And then people will like you for your personality and who you are, along with being really good at knitting.
When you were first doing jiu-jitsu, were there points where I'm trying to word this the right way, but like the word give up is an interesting word, I guess, in jiu-jitsu, because you do have to like tap out. Like you do literally, I guess, have to surrender.
Oh yeah, you can get to tap a lot.
Yeah, that's interesting. I imagine it's so frustrating. And like in the beginning, I know you're really fit, and especially nowadays, it's harder for you to get tired and stuff like that. But in the beginning, like sometimes would you just be so exhausted and just so like overwhelmed by what the dude was doing? You're like, I'm out. Like I'm fucking dead.
I mean, yeah, shit feels like you're in the Matrix, dog. In a bad way. It's like you're not Neo.
Right? On the other side of it, and you can't see anything.
Neo's fucking over here, bouncing your bullets off and kicking your ass. That's what you feel.
You can see the ones and zeros, but you have no nothing you can do about it.
The ones and zeros they don't make any fucking sense.
Right? Yeah, they're ones and zeros.
Yeah, no, dude. Initially, the shit felt really impossible because none of it made sense, and people were just consistently wrecking me in tons of different ways.
Well, there's something that you told yourself to like. What do you think? What do you think led you to want to come back? Like, were you like, if I just stick with this, I think there's a lot to learn here. I think there's something really cool I can pull from this.
Oh yeah,
like I need this for some reason.
Yeah, I would just like, one of the big things is I would watch really skilled people. It's the same thing when I started powerlifting and I was trying to like progress the deadlift or whatever. And then I was watching a lot of Yuri Belkin at that time. And I was just looking at his form and I was just like, if I could just copy that shit, right? I just did the same shit with jiu-jitsu, where I'd watch a lot of those high-level competitors at the time. There was like, obviously, I'd watch a lot of Hadra Gracie shit since he was an ultra heavyweight, but Buchecha, who's this big athletic dude, who was wrecking it at the time. I think he was like a 10-time world champion. I just watch a lot of that and just be like, well, you know, at some point I could do shit like that. Right now, no, because I'm getting my ass beat. But I just knew I had to kind of stick with it. And I I wouldn't say I enjoyed getting my ass beat. It was really frustrating. But the martial art itself, I really liked it. I liked how challenging it was. You know?
Most of the time when you were younger, because you played soccer and you've always kind of, I guess it's fair to say, like you've been kind of ahead. You're a big guy. You're tall. You've been athletic. You were in sports from the time you were young. There's some genetic components to all this, but you've been literally playing sports for a really fucking long time. Yeah. So when somebody, like if a friend wanted to race you, you probably were able to beat a lot of people. If someone wanted to arm wrestle you, you probably, like there's all these little things you do when you're like a little kid and you get competitive. And probably most of the time you were probably pretty athletic and able to mimic and or do things a little better than most people.
You brought back some bad memories with the arm wrestling thing. There's a picture on my Facebook with this. There's this like a buff, jacked Mexican guy when I was in high school, and
arm wrestling is fucking funny, man.
Yeah, dude.
I mean, it's a serious sport, but like
when you're to that level, right?
Yeah, when you're a kid and you don't know what you're doing, it's. Yeah, everybody runs into like a razor blade on that one. I ran into Jason and James Hudak. The Hudak brothers were fucking tough to beat in arm wrestling.
Hudaks,
yeah, they were fucking.
What the fuck? Can you pull this up, please? Who the fuck are the Hudaks?
Yeah, they were wiry and jacked. James Hudak, I think, actually listens to the podcast sometimes. But you know, like those little fuckers that are ripped.
Yes,
like there's just people that are ripped.
Yeah, usually wrestlers.
Dude, both these guys actually. Yeah, James Hudak, I think he did wrestle.
Yeah, dude,
he was just shredded.
That's sick. Yeah.
He just shredded. Had the sickest fucking mullet anyone's ever seen.
Ooh, nice.
And he was shredded on top of it.
Damn.
A mullet and he was shredded.
Took all the girls with that shit.
Yo.
But yeah, like I was big, you know, I was big and like heavy. And so all my friends were like, oh, you're going to kick his ass arm wrestling. And then I would get my ass kicked by those guys usually. Or at least it would be like a stalemate to where anybody doing anything against me was good because I was big and heavy, you know?
Yeah.
Made me look like a chump.
Put your weight into it.
Yeah, exactly.
It really pissed me off. There was this fucking, there's this thing we did in high school called Sports-Rama. And we were, you know, arm wrestling each other to see, okay, who's going to be the guy who arm wrestles like the seniors and the juniors or whatever. And the last round was me versus this really stocky Mexican dude. fuck, man, I was holding for so long. And then slowly he took me down. And I was just so dejected. I have the picture somewhere on my Facebook. I'll find that shit.
Dude, that guy went on to be so successful after that.
He's a cool dude.
I'm just saying, like,
He got that one giant arm.
I definitely landed him some high school. I'm going to stop my statement right there.
No, but what I was getting at, like, fuck, was it? It's an Adam Sandler movie where like he wins a like a basketball game when they were like 12, and he goes on to be super successful, and then like the guys that he beat, they're all still stuck on it, living in that same hometown. I'm trying to. I forgot what it's called.
What I was going to say though, Nsima, was, you know, you did sports when you're young, and you had some proficiency at it. Then you did it for a longer time, and you got better and better at it. And most of the time, you were able to do well. You were able to be a starter. You were able to be a proficient soccer player. But when it came to jiu-jitsu, it was like, no, you're a beginner. You're going to fucking be terrible.
Oh, yeah.
You didn't have a wrestling background. You don't have a combat background of any kind. I guess in soccer, it can get kind of physical, but you didn't have a background in anything like that before, right?
No combat sports background, no wrestling background, which was
Thigh Wars.
Yeah, Thigh Wars. Yeah, college Thigh Wars. But yeah,
that one guy's dick would get in the way. His dick's like this big, right?
yeah.
We need to have that guy's dick on the podcast.
All right, so guys, there's a game. I'll be so quick with this. There's a game we played in college called Thigh War.
It's fascinating when someone's really hung, I think.
It is.
It's fascinating. Yeah.
Shit's scary.
What's that like?
It's like it's not okay to have a dick that's the size of this bottle, which his actually was.
I wouldn't own a pair of shorts.
And I actually never thigh warred with him. That's the guy that I never chose to thigh war with.
Yeah, no one did.
I'm not going to say his name because I don't want to put him on blast, but he was a big African on our team. And one day I was in my locker. I was just looking down. I was on my phone, had my towel over me. And then I hear, oh, and then I look up, and then this guy's midair, dick is to the side because he had his hips, whatever, and he was getting ready to swing his hips and slap his dick across my face, and like literally like Neo in the Matrix, I fucking came back, and I just had that dick wind, just whoop.
Oh, that's such a good visual.
Yo, man, I dodged that shit so quick. It was wild, man. But what were we talking about, man?
Hairs. That's outstanding mobility.
Yeah, man.
And reflexes.
I was just so happy because that was about to be a bad moment for me, man.
Basically, I was just explaining that you didn't have a background of like combat sports. You got into jiu-jitsu, and there was something there where you were like, this is really neat. This is something new that I have to figure out. Whereas
and challenging.
Some of the other stuff you gravitated towards, you know, soccer, and you lifted for soccer to get stronger, and then you got into bodybuilding. But bodybuilding wasn't like a departure from some spot that you weren't close to being able to do something in.
Yeah.
Powerlifting and bodybuilding, there's enough crossover there. But for me, you know, going from, you know, powerlifting, messing around with a little bit of bodybuilding, and now running is just like it's not related, right? Jiu-jitsu is not related to bodybuilding or powerlifting.
Especially the running you're doing. Yes, you're not, it's not like you're trying to figure, well, you are getting better at sprinting too,
right? Which
is not like, you know, something you used to do, but you're trying to run distances at 230 something pounds. And with jiu-jitsu, I
haven't lost a pound.
But yeah, no.
Thanks, Rosemary Bell. Appreciate it. Appreciate those jeans.
It's in your jeans, man. But I think that's why I didn't, it's not that I liked it because it was a big departure, but I just liked it because it allowed me to move a lot more. And if I did something with lifting, like CrossFit or whatever, it's kind of more of the same. And that just kind of bored me, to be perfectly honest. Like I didn't want to try to do another lifting based sport because there's really nothing new to learn. Don't get me wrong. There's a lot to learn with CrossFit. There's a lot to learn with Olympic lifting, but at the end of the day, it's still lifting. And then once you get proficient with those movements, it's like you just add more weight on, you get stronger. It's the same thing. But I think one thing is I kind of learned, and when I look back at it, you know, I did bodybuilding for a while. Then when I got kind of bored of my off season with the bodybuilding, I picked up some powerlifting, but then I got kind of bored with that. Then when I started jiu-jitsu, when I looked at it, I'm like, there's a lot here. Like there's a lot of variability. There's a lot to learn. And even right now, there's a fuck ton still to learn. And 7 years in, and it's not getting boring. I feel like maybe I'm just a variability junkie in that sense, but that's why it keeps me personally engaged. And I'm not trying to go to another sport because there's still so much to figure out, you know? And that's why I dig it so much.
And even with good genetics, you're still fucked.
Oh, yeah.
Like you sucked when you started, and it's a tough game to figure out no matter where you start, right?
And everyone you go against, you know, your training partners, they all have different styles and ways they do things. When you go to competition, everyone's built differently. They have different aspects to their game. They have different specialties. So whether you're doing it just to have fun for yourself and you're at a gym, right, you're going to have all the training partners you can train with.
Right.
But then if you go and you compete, it's a free-for-all. You don't know what you're going to go against. And that is really exciting. You know, it's really exciting.
I just think it's amazing like that, you know, you started this journey of jiu-jitsu like about 6 or 7 years ago?
7 years ago.
Yeah,
7 years ago.
Yeah, about 7 years ago. And, you know, now you're going to Pan Ams and you're going to Worlds and you got your goals set, you know, pretty fucking high. But when I met you, you weren't doing any jiu-jitsu.
No, I didn't start jiu-jitsu when we met. It was after, like maybe about a year after we met, I started jiu-jitsu. But
it's kind of amazing. I mean, it's such a huge part of your life now.
Yeah.
And Andrew, like you just got started and kind of almost like having a baby. You can't imagine your life without your son. He's not even that old.
You're right. Yeah, absolutely.
Right? You can't imagine your life without jiu-jitsu now. You're like, kind of, what the fuck did I do with myself before?
Yeah, you really can't. I know. I for damn sure cannot. Like imagine not going to jiu-jitsu.
And you're like 6 months in.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Like about exactly 6 months in. But
I think that's fucking cool.
It's like the first...
Damn, 6 months.
I know, dude. So, well, like, yeah, it'll be 6 months in April.
Holy shit, dude.
I know.
That's wild.
Yeah.
That's sick, dude.
Yeah, I did miss some time with my like back, like rib thingy, but like
that's
part
probably
of the game.
Everybody, right? Everyone probably gets in. So probably like a couple... absences here and there, right?
I was talking to one of my training partners because I was just curious, and he's like, yeah, it's been like 10 months, but like really, he's like closer to 8 because I keep, you know, getting a little banged up here and there. But yeah, no, it's the first thing that like, so like even when I played sports as a kid, and I was a kid, so there's a huge difference there. But like just going to practice, I'd be like shivering because I'm like super nervous. And then games, same thing. Like I never like got super pumped for practice. I never got super pumped for a game. It was always like, damn it, here's this thing I got to go do. With jiu-jitsu, I'm just like, I'm already looking forward to it tomorrow morning. You know, like I can't wait to go.
And you're probably sometimes kind of nervous depending on like what drills you're doing or who's in class type stuff.
Oh yeah. My camera just took a shit, but no, I still get super anxious and like, anxious and not in like I have anxiety, but just like I'll you know, it's the second wave will hit as I'm driving to the gym because I'm like, oh, we're gonna go choke each other out for a little bit, and then it's like I get there and I'm like, oh, I gotta go, get out of the way, I gotta go to the bathroom.
Your body, mind, and spirit wants you to like choose something different.
kinda, yeah. But then that feeling afterwards, you know, it just, I mean, I do get pretty gassed, you know, like I'm kind of like a zombie, but it feels incredible. When
I was wrestling, I was so nervous going into a lot of practices and just the different drills. And sometimes, you know, if you get yourself in a position where you become efficient at some of the movements and stuff, then you're in a position to like do a lot of the drills with the instructor.
You're talking about ring wrestling, right?
Pro wrestling, right? And that's where I was when I was like around 20 or so, 20 or 22 or so. I would do a lot of the drills with the instructor as the person to like show you like this is how it's supposed to look. And so I was like, fuck, like I'm still new to this. I'm the guy who's choosing to like show all these other guys what it's supposed to look like. I better not fuck anything up. And luckily I grew into it and I got pretty good at it. I think one of the reasons he chose me for that is I put in an effort. I showed that it was something that I wanted to do, something that I was there on time. I had all my shit on. I wasn't like tying my shoes as class is starting and like just little things. And those were things that, I would have some anxiety towards. I'd have a little bit of like, fuck, man, I hope I don't mess this up. Because in pro wrestling, you do things that are called like a spot, and the guy will do certain things to you, and he'll tell you like what's you're going to do. And then you have to try to fucking remember the sequence. And if you're not in the right spot, you can injure the other person really easy. Or if your timing is off, there's just a lot of stuff that can happen. And so you're like, fuck, man, I better get to the. But anyway, my point in bringing some of this up is that it took a lot of effort for me. I had to push, and it wasn't like an aggressive push. It wasn't like I was going to like hurt myself, but I had to pay attention. I had to move fast. I had to learn the movements the right way. Mm-hmm. And they take a certain amount of like athleticism and stuff. And so it was something I really wanted to do. I wanted to be good at it. And so it was something I would put, I don't know, it was just like obvious that I wanted to be there. And then even with other things, transitioning from, not necessarily transitioning from wrestling, but pulling something that I learned from wrestling into just a regular job. When I was a bouncer at Sharky's in Hermosa Beach, where I met my wife, the owner of the bar, he owned a bunch of other places. Him and his dad, they owned a bunch of spots, and they were very, very wealthy. They've always done really, really well. And just one day at work, I was just sitting there and I was just started talking to him, and he's like, he's like, Mark, he's like, you're a lot different than the other guys. He's like, you're going to do something big, I think, because he's like, you just care. He's like, because I'd throw away the bottles, and I would try to make sure that there wasn't any fights. A lot of bouncers get into fights, and he's like, when you're here, there's never a fight. He's like, he's like, it's pretty awesome. And part of the reasons
because when you look at somebody, you're like, yeah. Your fucking wide ass blue eyes just staring at their soul.
Yeah, and they're like, whoa.
I'm actually not that upset.
The reason I would like throw away the bottles and do some of the little extra stuff was so that the place was less dangerous, because I've seen people get hit over the head with a fucking bottle before. I've seen people trip on bottles and things like that. And so his whole point was just like, you're putting in a little extra effort, you care, and whatever that is, that's going to probably, turn into something cool. And I actually took that like meant a lot to me. And it was just like some dude at a bar, my boss at a bar. Maybe some people wouldn't think much of that, but I was like, I'm different because I put in effort. That doesn't really cost me anything. It feels good anyway. I'm here, I'm getting paid, and I ain't got shit to do anyhow. So I don't want to sit around. I'd rather go through the bar, make sure it's cool. I can throw the shit out or do whatever I'm supposed to do. So yeah, for me, I always kind of liked that. It always felt good to me to put in extra effort.
Pull up to the scene with my ceiling missing.
I love that.
2 Chainz, I'm different.
I'm different.
Yeah, Andrew only listens to fucking Nas. I didn't really listen to much 2 Chainz, but I remember that song.
That's a great song.
It's a great song.
I don't know if I've heard it.
His ceiling's missing.
Yeah, I'm different.
Oh, I have heard that song. I remember. Yeah, I remember it now. But it's just funny. He's saying I'm different, but it sounds exactly like everybody else.
Yeah,
he's the same. I'm the same. I'm the same.
Yeah, that's true. Actually, that song is very generic.
See if you can pull up this clip of this. This gives you a fucking really good visual of some effort that maybe someone didn't have to do, but they chose to do it. You see a football game.
This clip is wild.
Champ Bailey, Hall of Famer too. Savage. Whoa. Come on. Ben Watson. Where the fuck did this guy come from?
You know what's funny? You could tell he slowed down at that last, like...
He thought he was in the clear.
He was like, here. And then that motherfucker came up.
I don't even know that Coach Belichick would have said anything because we lost the game. And it was the last game of the season. If I dogged it, I would have to deal with it myself. Something my college coach used to tell me was that stuff like that doesn't take a whole bunch of talent. It's just effort.
Where did he come from? Where did he come from? And we didn't know until replays. We saw Ben was on the other side of the field, so he basically had to run like 120 yards, even longer than that to get that. until I saw that I truly appreciate about the effort that he put forth. Man, it was a play that sort of signified just never giving up.
Jesus Christ, man.
That's something
That's
I think,
sick.
anyone can respect, right? I mean, regardless of what sports you like or don't like, I mean, that's just a guy just hustling. You always hear people talk about going to the whistle. I mean, he went and he didn't hear a whistle, so he just kept going and going and going.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so cool.
Really pushing through right there. That's fucking crazy. That's fucking crazy. But a really cool thing from honestly what you're all mentioning is like, as far as your running, Mark, you're not someone who, I guess, you're not built to be a distance runner, right? And Andrew, you're picking up jujitsu in your mid-30s, and you fucking love it.
Late 30s.
Late 30s, actually. I think the cool thing is that anybody listening, if there's anything you want to do, you can literally reinvent and start at any time. You're not limited by your age or how early you started. You can do it any time, and as you can see, like Mark, you have experienced runners who are complimenting you on your running form.
Right.
And you're not like some professional marathon runner, but
Right.
these people who've been running for a long time are like, damn, you have really good fucking form. And it's just because you've been putting in time each day. You've been paying attention to people like Weck and other people's advice. You've been doing things from functional patterns. You've been putting in effort to remold your body into now somebody who can run proficiently, even though you're not a runner.
And even with the effort, I do think that when you do something new and when you start to put your heart into it and you do have a good effort, you are most likely going to run into some injuries. You're most likely going to get dinged up here and there. It's very difficult to avoid because sometimes you just get overzealous, or sometimes it's just new and it just fucking hurts. So there are like little things like that where you might need a little bit of a Goggins type of thing going into that. But I think Goggins' message gets confused. I think there's like effort and like working really hard, but there's also a skill set. Like David Goggins has developed a skill set. Now, how has he developed the skill set? Through like a mindset? I think, yeah, that's probably true. Like he's probably developed it through a mindset, but he's also developed a skill set within his body. His body allows him to do these things. And yes, I've heard him talk about like he's like shitting himself and he's like bleeding and so he does have a propensity to be able to carry on maybe longer than the next guy. But I don't think that has to be everyone's journey. And I don't think that's necessary to be good at something. And I don't think it's necessary to be great at something to be that way for everybody. Maybe David Goggins decided this is the way that I'm going to be fucking great. And I'm going to share that out with people. And it obviously works really well for him. It motivates and stimulates a lot of other people. But in my experience, I have been able to do things in a little bit more reasonable way, although I get lost in it too. I was really, in deep into powerlifting to some dangerous levels, some levels that, probably I can look back and say, there's a couple of things I probably shouldn't have done. I did that a little too hard, or did that a little bit too many drugs, too many reps, too many sets, too much weight. I did combinations.
Too much weight.
Yeah, too much
weight. 330.
Too much body weight. Yeah, but I had to kind of butt up next to a lot of those things to learn, and that was kind of my experience with it. But each person is going to have their own experience. But I think just to get good at something and just to be more proficient, you can really fucking relax and you can really take your time. I try to share with everybody in the kindest way that I can that you're not going to be that good anyway. You're just not going to be that good. I don't mean down the road. I just mean in the beginning.
Yeah.
You ain't going to do nothing. Like you're not going to do nothing. So just it's okay. Just fucking relax. Just enjoy the process. Like I'm not going to go to jiu-jitsu when I'm done with the Boston Marathon and really shock or surprise anybody after doing it for 2 or 3 weeks with some sort of, I'm not going to like invent some new move that fucking taps everybody out or something. You know what I mean? It's just not going to happen. I have to learn all the right steps. I got to learn everything in a similar way. And then over time, yeah, then maybe I can start to think, oh, maybe I'll kind of become something in this, and maybe I'll push myself a little harder beyond just the effort that I'm giving right now.
Yeah. Be nice to yourself, especially when you're starting any of those things. Be really fucking nice to yourself. Because I've seen a lot of people burn out. I've seen a lot of people burn out because they just went way too hard, way too fast, and they didn't know when to pull back. And I've been close to those situations too. But as I got older, I just realized, okay, just do what your body's willing to give you. And yeah, push yourself and see what you can do, but don't fuck yourself up for some stupidity.
I was shocked at watching some of the roles that you did at Pan Am's and seeing like it. I mean, I guess everyone's on such a high level, but it doesn't seem like violent. It doesn't seem like everyone's like, I'm sure there's guys that maybe aren't as smooth as others, but most of the matches I saw you do, I was like, man, this is fucking cool. I'm like, I don't even know what I'm watching, because I'm like, these guys are so like chill, but still moving fast and explosively. I'm like, this is fucking wild.
Yeah.
But that takes a long time.
Yeah. You know what's interesting? The first match I had that wasn't recorded because it was a qualifier. For some reason, it was weird because that guy had the most points, and the way it works in brackets is that like the person with the most points is going to be the first seed, right? And I was 10th seed because I haven't competed as a brown belt yet. It was my first career match as a brown belt, so I was 10th seed. But the guy that I beat first was technically the first seed guy, and in our match, something happened where I think I landed a sweep on him, and I think I hurt his back, right? But anyway, it doesn't seem violent, and that's kind of why I like jiu-jitsu, because it's all about chokes and joint locks. But it is, yeah. It's something you could, but yeah, man,
it just looks so smooth. I guess violent might have not even been the right word, but it just didn't look. It didn't look like jerky. It looked pretty smooth from everybody. Yeah. Even though you guys are like trying to like kind of hurt each other or tap each other out. Like you're trying to aggressively. I guess that's the word I would use. It didn't look that aggressive, even though everyone is being aggressive because everyone's so proficient. It looks smooth.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I
didn't see a lot of like, just like guys just smashing into each other. And
when you watch white belt matches, you'll see that.
That's what I was gonna say.
Andrew, like, what does it feel like for you when you were watching him? Are you just like, holy fuck, like melt your brain a little bit?
A little bit. I have to be careful with. So Nsima, you always mention like guard your inputs and stuff. Like, so I obviously don't want to watch bad jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, you really don't.
But at the same time, like, if I watch some of these matches or like some instructionals where they, they're going inverted and they're flipping people upside down and taking their back, it's like, it's too much. It's that fire hose like approach. I have to like watch stuff that's at my reading level. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You know what's funny about this match right here? I ended up winning this match by points, but when I was in, because to the right of us is the bullpen. It's where you wait for your next matches, right?
It's where everyone's all nervous.
It's where everyone's chilling for their next match. I think he was my second match, right? And I think he was third seed. So I had a match.
Guy he's going against is real big right here. He's like a big old bear.
Yeah, you didn't go against anybody small.
Yeah, it's because they're all ultra heavyweights. But he was third seed. I was 10th seed, right? And I was just sitting down on my headphones, and a friend I met who was actually in this weight class, his name's Nathan, and he asked this guy, he's like, do you know who you're going with next? And the guy he's like, I don't know, just some fucking 10th seed guy. And then I heard that, and I just chilled. I was just like, okay. I didn't say shit. But then they called our names, and it's not like I had some type of chip on my shoulder, but I was just like, oh, that's funny. Because you're just like, just some fucking 10th seed guy. Yeah. And then, so yeah, the match after this was the judo dude. And that match was fun because he did big guy jujitsu. But yeah, man, right in the background, there's Mason right there.
That was cool. I loved him being in your corner. I guess
this was the first time that I actually had a coach in the corner for a tournament, because usually I don't. and he was super helpful. Mason's a ultra heavy black belt, and I'm super fortunate to be able to go train with him over at Calterra a few times a week because he's dominating in the black belt sector. But having him as a training partner, I feel, was like one of the big reasons why I was actually able to do well at this tournament. Like training with him has improved my skill drastically within the past 3 months, two or 3 months. Because it's like none of these guys didn't feel crazy difficult because I'm training with Mason so much.
Would you say like some of the guys that you're training with now, it's allowed you to maybe explore putting in more effort because you have to be around people that are just, at this point, you have to be around some more people that are on a pretty high level.
Yeah, I'm getting rid of bad habits. Andrew, you got to pull up that match with the last guy with that tape.
Okay.
You got to pull that up because that was fucking funny.
So this is something that I can actually understand here. This pass right here, and I want to say Mason was like calling out, like, do the.
The funny thing is with the pass right here, me and Mason drilled the pass. He was weeks before.
He's like, or he said something along the lines of like, how you get past my guard, do it now.
Yeah,
and then he just did. And I was like,
yeah,
that was sick.
So I'll tell you what I mentioned, Mark. But like to what Andrew was saying real quick, there's Mason is a big half guard player. He's really good at it. And there was one day that he was just wrecking me with his half guard, and I was like, Mason, you got to tell me, what am I supposed to do to pass your half guard? He's like, fuck, I don't want to tell you this, but yeah, here, let me show you how to do this. And it was a pass that landed here, and all he said was like, pass my half guard the way I taught you how to pass. And then I was like, oh yeah, that. And then
it was so nice.
So that's one of those things. But in terms of the effort when training with Mason, one of the big things is like training with him and the guys over there has helped me get rid of a lot of bad habits, because where I train at Casio School, there isn't anybody like Mason or some of the other guys. So I'm able to get away with certain things. I'm able to get away with like, I can let somebody pass my guard because I'll retain my guard again. But when you get to a higher level, once somebody passes your guard, if you're not frantically trying to get your guard back, you're going to get passed. It's like, and that's a bad habit that I've built because with some people I train with, some of them, I'm able to just get away with doing that. But by training over there in San Jose, you give them an inch, you give Mason an inch, he will fucking just keep drilling forward. So one thing that's been helping a lot now is like, I'm much sharper at like something bad happens. Okay, I frantically try to get to something else. I'm not playing as lackadaisical as I usually do because I'm able to do those things, which has been super helpful. So I think it's super fortunate that the dude's just right in San Jose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It would be cool if he was in Sacramento, but I mean, at the end of the day, like he's right there, and I'm able to train with somebody like that, and it's helping me really improve. I'm super thankful for that.
He coaches people too, right?
Oh yeah. I think he leads some classes over at Kyle's.
That's probably helpful too, because it's a different level of communication when you start to coach people.
Yeah. It was super fucking helpful, and it is a rare thing too, because again, he's an ultra heavyweight. Mason's like 230, right? I know some high level guys that, you know, are maybe in the lighter weight classes, but I'm literally getting to train with somebody who at some point I'm going to probably have to compete against. Like in a few years, my goal is to be able to compete at the top level black belts, right? And if he stays in that weight class, he's going to be someone that I have to compete against, but I'm able to learn and train with him currently. And that's the thing, like as I continue to get better, my goal is to be able to push him too. And he's just going to keep getting better too. So I just need it. I know what to look for because I'm training with somebody who is doing the thing right now. And it's been so fucking helpful.
Sounds like Obi-Wan against Darth Vader.
A little bit.
Which one's this one? This is the last match.
Yeah.
Fucking hated this one.
I thought that's the one you wanted.
No, Horacio, the judo guy.
It's like, no, don't ever show this again.
Yeah, that's why I was like, I don't want to put that one up.
No, the guy, the fucking Tito, he was the guy who won. That was a good match. But I was talking about this one. Because
people that don't know, Nsima got second place, brown belt, first brown belt competition at Pan Am's.
Yeah.
What the
Open
fuck?
class, heavyweight.
Ultra heavyweight.
Ultra heavyweight.
Yeah.
What's the weight classes? And yeah, because
there's heavy, which is like one. Super heavyweight is right below ultra, which is like I think 208 to 220. Heavyweight, which is below that, is 198 to 210. Ultra heavyweight is 222 and above, and there are more weight classes below. Yeah.
Because when I was looking at the brackets trying to find your matches, I was just like, oh yeah, he's probably heavyweight. I'm like, oh wait, he's probably super.
I'm ultra heavyweight.
I didn't know.
I'm 250.
Oh, ultra just sounds, I don't know, man.
So
but he's a big boy.
Yeah. So this guy's a judo guy from Brazil, and he has an Olympic tattoo on his neck because I think he did the Olympics for Brazil in judo.
Damn.
So his whole thing was just like, he just wanted to try to play on top. He just wanted to take me down and get on top of me, which almost worked a few times. I think, yeah. So I was just trying to pull guard at him, but every time I pulled guard, he would literally just come back and stand up. We should just skip to the fucking collar drag, because that collar drag
was nice.
How do you manage your effort, and how do you, like, you know, is this something you had to learn over the course of like a little while to manage like how much lifting you do and how much other exercise you do with your jiu-jitsu?
I think one thing that I feel really fortunate with is that it would be cool if jiu-jitsu was my base, right? If I did jiu-jitsu since I was a kid. Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And since we landed out, I think it might have counted as an advantage or something for him. But
this is what technique does.
Andrew just loves replaying shit.
Yeah. No, it's just really good.
You fucking whore. You want to replay it a third time?
Yeah.
You want me to, yeah.
Just in case the audio people didn't see it.
Well, come roll with me at Casio's on Friday. I can't wait to have some fun with you. I hate you so much. I thought
you were going to say,
well, these mats, you know, the slippery, right? A little bit right there.
Not slippery. No. I see what you're doing. Yeah, dude, they're super fucking slippery.
That one spot.
I think there was actually some oil or grease on that side of the mat,
for you, but not for the other guy.
Yeah, but
this arm drag though, dude,
it's a collar drag
or collar drag. Sorry, I let out a very loud, audible "fuck yeah" in my house, and I think I scared my son. But it was really good.
Yeah,
once I find it,
a big boy.
It's also cool because we were drilling collar drags with Kalipa, so that was pretty helpful. But I felt kind of good because I threw a judo guy. Like, this is his game. So
and then took his back.
That's what you see like a lot of good wrestlers. They do kind of what you just did right there, where they go for something and they don't stop. You know, they go for a single leg or double leg. Maybe they go for a double leg and it turns into like a single leg.
Yeah.
But they keep at it. You see it a lot in the UFC, and you're like, damn, that guy, like, he's stuck with that shit, and he ends up wearing the guy down.
That's something that, again, training with Mason has been super helpful, because
you had to go all the way through on that.
Yeah. And Mason, when he does things, like when he gets a leg, he doesn't stop. When he's going for a pass, he doesn't stop. Like, he's just continuing to pressure. And I haven't had to do that with a lot of people that I train with at times. So training, like working with him, I'm like, oh shit, I can't kind of half-ass certain things because it's not going to land. I have to go all the way. So like that's one thing that's super fucking helpful. To your question on the effort thing when it comes to this stuff, what did you mean necessarily? You said like, do I have to?
Yeah, like, I don't know, you're excited and you want to be better, you want to be the best, and you're pumped up, and it's like, you know, how many fucking like kettlebell swings and like, I don't know, just how do you kind of like manage all that? Because if you put in too much, like, you love it, but if you put in too much on one particular day, it could actually take away from your training quite a bit.
Absolutely, dude. I think nowadays when it comes to like lifting, I still will lift, but I've been doing things that will give me a big return with not a crazy amount of fatigue investment, right? So box squats rather than doing full squats, right? I can get the benefit of that. Pendlay rows, explosive pendlay rows, still super good, but since I'm proficient with that movement, I'm getting the benefit of an explosive row, which is going to help me when doing all this stuff with guard. But again, I can go do jiu-jitsu after that. And a lot of the stuff I do now, it's still strengthening aspects of, you know, my athleticism, but it's not a crazy investment in terms of fatigue, so I can still train effectively. And I do have an advantage because I've been lifting for a long time. I think that's one thing that I realize is a benefit for me, even though I haven't been doing jiu-jitsu since I was 8 or 10 years old. I have this base of lifting that most guys in jiu-jitsu don't have. So now I can try to focus more on the jiu-jitsu stuff that I'm kind of maybe behind on, whereas if they want to try to most people aren't going to try to catch up to my strength. And if they did, it would take away from jiu-jitsu too much. So now I'm trying to double down on that. And I think most people, like, if you're starting jujitsu and you don't have a base of lifting, yeah, you're going to have to be a bit more crafty. And it depends on your goals, but you're going to have to spend some time still doing strength conditioning. You shouldn't back off of that, because that's just going to help you be better at jujitsu. And it's hard for some people because like you want to focus on grappling, but you also can't be weak, or you shouldn't be physically weak if you're going to do that. So,
and you deadlifting like 755 or something, most likely has too much of a risk to reward ratio, perhaps, right? And then maybe you can spend your time doing something else, which you've been doing like a lot of weird shit lately, like balancing on one foot, rolling out your feet, working on training your tibialis, training your ankles, training like you're getting into like kind of the finer things. And I think that a lot of people miss even kind of like the recovery aspects of stuff. Like there needs to be a good, strong effort there. And I think if you take, you find like some weaknesses that you have and you hone in on them a little bit, along with making sure that your strengths don't like go down, make sure they don't depreciate. And you do that every day, and you put in like a level that is reasonable for you to manage, to where you can recover from each day and then get through each day with proficiency and still do your job and still, make money and have a girlfriend and have a particular diet. And you do that every day. And that's what fucking builds up. And that's what ends up in the end making a champion. And that's where people scratch their head and they're like, I don't understand how the fucking guy does it. I don't get it. And they'll just be like, well, he's a genetic freak. He's a fucking mutant. Yeah. It's like they didn't see, you're sitting here with your fucking hand spreader thing, toe spreaders, wearing certain shoes and certain sandals. And like, it's a never ending pursuit.
Dude. Yeah, no, funny thing is, a lot of those, for all of us, everything has turned into certain habits. Our nutritions are habitual, our actions are the way we wake up, the way we sleep, all those things that.
It's not really extra for us at this point.
It's not extra for us at this point, but for a lot of people, it would be extra for a little bit. But if you put in some effort, it just becomes what you do, I do have to give a shout out real quick to this. These guys sent us these pads. I want to show you guys what's under our feet now real quick. We will be doing stuff with them soon, but it's from Wild Gym, right? It's this pad that it's fucking crazy.
Doesn't feel like a pad. It feels like fucking hard plastic underneath your feet. It kind of hurts, but kind of feels good at the same time.
Dude, this thing's so fucking amazing.
You could turn it over and use it as like a balance thing a little bit. Yep. There's a bunch of stuff. They were super generous. They sent us a lot of stuff where we're trying to figure out what the hell some of the stuff is.
Yeah. But we usually have stuff underneath our feet, and this is literally perfect because there's like a ball in between it too. Don't get it yet though, because we'll have something for you guys. But keep an eye on it.
Yeah, we'll help you guys get a discount.
Cool. We'll help you. Yeah, it's so sick. But yeah, man, it's when Nicky was here, Nicky Rod, right? Actually, I think he got his blood work done by Derek. He has high cholesterol or some shit. But a lot of the stuff he does in terms of his recovery, his sleep, all this stuff he talks about, it's habits for him, right? Whereas for a lot of people, they haven't implemented that, so it's work for them. None of this stuff, I think for you with your running, like it's effort, but it doesn't necessarily feel like work because like you have it cemented in. And same thing with me with all this shit, the nutrition, the habits of the fasting, all these things that we do. We've been doing it for so long that it's just a part of our lives. But it's because it's set in, it's now helping us progress even faster at what we're doing.
Power Project family, your normal shoes are making you weak. This is why we partner with Vivo Barefoot Shoes, because they have a wide toe box, they're flat, and they're flexible. So with every single step you're taking, if you're taking a 10-minute walk outside, or when you're working out in the gym, your feet are able to do what they're supposed to do in this shoe. They have tons of options for hiking, running, training in the gym, chilling and relaxing, casual shoes for if you're out on a date. You need to check them out. And Andrew, how can they get it?
Yes, that's over at vivobarefoot.com/powerproject, and you guys will receive 15% off your order automatically. Again, vivobarefoot.com/powerproject. Links to them down in the description as well as the podcast show notes.
Andrew, what would you say the effort level was on a scale like 1 to 10? When you ran the furthest that you ever ran, when you ran with me that day?
Oh, man. That is hard. Because on paper, I'd be like, oh, that's definitely going to be a 10 out of 10. And it did take a lot out of me, and it was difficult. but it wasn't the hardest thing I've ever done. And that's what a 10 out of 10 would be. So, I mean, it was somewhere between like a 6 and an 8. It's hard for me to really gauge that.
Yeah, the last mile was probably an 8, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Because the last mile, you were getting kind of quiet. That's how you can tell someone's fucked when they start getting kind of quiet.
Yeah, some of those hills, and then like
you're like, they're having a rough go of it right now.
After so long, that's when you start to realize that little tiny thing that was bugging me is now like yelling at me. And so then it's like, oh shit, how much further we got to go? So yeah, somewhere in there, it kind of varied, but yeah.
Yeah, and you said it really well right there, that little tiny thing that was bugging you. I think that too many people ignore that. Like it's okay to ignore it once in a while, but you haven't like revisited that since that time. And maybe in jiu-jitsu, maybe there's been a couple days and times, but I think what's misunderstood about running is that a lot of times you're out there for like a long time. If you're going to run 5 miles or 10 miles and you're new, it's going to take you a while. Like that's a lot of reps. It's a lot of, if you run like 10 miles, I mean, that's a lot of steps. And I think that people seem to be confused why there's so many injuries for running. And it shouldn't be confusing to anybody. People are running when they don't have a proficiency at it. They haven't been doing it in a long time. Then they think they're just going to go out and like run because they saw somebody else run. Maybe they see me run and they're like, I'm going to go run. And I try to explain to everybody that they shouldn't run. Don't even try to run. Just jog and walk. But people don't want to do the easier low-hanging fruit stuff. But when you do that, if you can just do that for just a little bit, it's going to give you access to be able to jog better over a period of time. And the fuck thing about running is it's really important to go slow. When you go slow, it builds out your aerobic system. It builds up your aerobic capacity. And if you were just to run at like a 12 or 13 minute mile pace, which is most people would regard that as being like very, very slow. If you did that and can do that for 3 months, you're going to be able to run at probably like a 10-minute mile pace pretty easily for like 4 or 5 miles. And it doesn't sound like it makes any sense. You're like, how? Well, I don't really understand how necessarily. But I guess I would say this, you're going to be able to recover from the workouts. That's a huge part of it. And you're most likely not going to hurt yourself. People are getting hurt. They might run with like their foot pointed out a little bit. Having your foot pointed out isn't really a problem. It's not necessarily a really harmful way to run. But if you're landing with your foot pointed out every time, and there's just a little something going to that pinky toe every single time, or a little something going to that knee every single time, and that shock kind of generating from the ground up, and you're running faster than you should, well, every time you jump, or every time you run, you're jumping a lot, and you're leaving the ground a lot, and you just keep slamming on that spot over and over again. Whereas if you do that with like a bench press, and you have a little thing going on in your elbow, how many reps did you do? Maybe you did like 10. It's like not that big of a deal. Maybe you did 3 sets. Maybe you ended up with 30 total reps that kind of fucking hurt your elbow, or 30 reps of squats that kind of hurt your knee. It's way different than doing 30,000 reps or 20,000 reps on something that just hurts a little bit with every single step that you make. The reason why things like rhabdo and things like that happen is because people, even within a given workout, they're not able to recover from what it is that they're doing. Probably one of the more common ways to get rhabdo through like CrossFit is by the bending of the elbows. They do sumo deadlift high pulls. Then they ask someone to do like a pull up. And then they might ask someone to do like a clean. It's like bend the elbows, or they might ask someone to do a row. Bend the elbows, bend the elbows, bend the elbows.
Hundreds of reps.
Hundreds of reps in a condensed period of time against the clock. But there's no rest. It's like you just reverse curled yourself to death, and you don't have any proficiency with a clean, and probably no proficiency at like the pull up or the row or something. Everything's just thrown off course. So it's really obvious like how you can get hurt in these things. And in something that's cyclical, like running, you just keep landing on that thing over and over again. How much rest is it getting from one step to the other? Like hardly any, right? It's just fractions of a second of rest. So you got to like pull way back. And I realize we're talking about effort and we're talking about Ben Watson, running down Champ Bailey. That was fucking amazing. And you're like, I want to be able to do shit like that.
Now.
right now. How long has Ben Watson played to be able to do that? You know, he probably played his whole life, and that's probably the best play he ever made. And it was one circumstance in one moment where, who the hell knows, maybe his fucking calf kind of hurt when he was doing that. But in other areas of practice, when he's been working on stuff, maybe he was smart enough just to pull back so that he had it for the actual game and the event itself, rather than just being a practice All-American.
Yeah, and you mentioned, you know, going into the gym and stuff. So it's like if somebody was like, hey, Mark, I haven't benched since I was like in high school or even younger, but when I go and bench today, I want to bench exactly what you bench.
Right.
It's like, okay, look at running kind of the same way. Like you gotta start with the bar.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. You got to start way back. You got to start slow. Want to take us on out of here, Andrew?
Alrighty. Thank you, everybody, for checking out today's episode. Please drop those comments down below and hit up powerproject.live for everything podcast related. Follow the podcast at MB Power Project all over the place. My Instagram is at I am Andrew Z. And Nsima, where you at?
Discord down below, guys. Check that out. And Nsima Inyang, and you're showing YouTube, and Nsima Inyang on TikTok and Twitter. Mark.
Peeps, if you never looked at it before, take a look at what Andy Frisella has when he talks about 75 hard. There's a bunch of different rules. There's a bunch of different things that he wants you to try to do within the confines of that. But a lot of what we talked about today is really an idea and concept of like, what's shit going to look like if you do something for the next 30 days straight, 60 days straight, 75 days straight, and you actually really try to commit to it and you really try to check off those boxes. I think you'd be surprised the amount of change that I had in just maybe you can look it up, Andrew, real quick. The amount of change that I had in just a few weeks of running was it was unbelievable. And I'm sure Andrew's experienced the same thing with jiu-jitsu minus the top of his feet getting fucking ravaged.
I got to make a video about
You go
that.
from not knowing something, not knowing really anything about it, other than a couple words you heard some other people talk about or say, to now, you know, you're in practice, and not only are you able to do some of the moves, you're able to do some of the moves in an actual like kind of fight sequence where someone else is trying to like block you from doing that, or someone's trying to do something else to you. And I just think that's really amazing. So however dumb or useless or worthless you feel about something, you can become very proficient at it in a short period of time if you just dedicate yourself to it.
And
are you talking about this video? Or?
No, just a 75 hard to see. If
oh,
you can
my bad.
find,
I thought you were talking about your.
Yeah. See if you can find
Oh man,
it has some pretty cool, like, I don't know. There's like just like little rules to it that I think are kind of sick. I don't think it costs anything or anything. I think it's free.
No.
oh yeah, the 75 hard thing. People do that challenge all the time. It's totally free.
Yeah, it's very simply follow a diet, complete 2 45-minute workouts, one of which must be outdoors, take a progress picture, drink 1 gallon of water, read 10 pages of a book, audiobooks not included. What else? A bunch of other stuff, but that's like the main thing of it.
Make some of your own rules too. You know, eat a pizza every day for 90 days. See what
I
happens.
like that rule.
Yep.
You drink wine every day.
Sweet. Don't forget, peeps, if you want to check out how I've been running, how I've been lifting, you can go over to withinyoubrand.com and you can download, or if you give us your email, we will send you information that my coach helped me with, Dan Garner, and he gives you a full program of the lifting that I did and the running that I did to get ready for the Boston Marathon, which is coming up April 17th. Strength is never weakness, weakness is never strength. Catch you guys later. Bye.